G'day citizens, it's editing execute here. We did forget to add this in the original take, but we also wanted to give away the Prowler utility thanks to CIG. So if you'd like to win that, make sure you leave a comment below, publicly subscribe so I can actually see that you've subscribed, and we'll give that away to someone that leaves a comment below. Right, with that then, on with the show. Yeah. G'day and welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute, as usual, joined by old man Heston himself. Algared, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, fairly well. Fairly well. Voice is a bit croaky, but yeah.
We're about to be tired as hell because this is going to take a while. So we're going to get this done, but this is going to be probably one of the bigger ones we're going to do because it's a big ship. But we've been planning this one for a couple of weeks, so I think we'll just get into it quickly as we can. Yeah, you want to say something?
And what we're thinking, one of the things we are thinking is we're going to try and keep this short, so it's going to be general. And then we'll look at doing some more deep dives at different aspects.
Because obviously there's a lot that's going to change with the ship over time and in the near future as well. Like we've got engineering still to come in. We've got armor still to come in. There's a lot of moving parts going here. So if we go too deep, this is all going to change. So I think this is a broad overview, I think, is how I see this. And you obviously can't go as deep because it's such a big ship. But I deliberately went with the M, or got Algared to pull out the M. He wanted to pull out the P, but I made him do the M because
originally,
of the...
I got to be, in fairness, I originally did think of the M.
Yeah.
Because that was the original one, which was your thinking as well. But then I went, but I'll pull out the P because that's the one most people will see.
Yeah, and I went the other way because I think this is the one most people are going to use in Squadron, and it's also the one that not a lot of people are going to see until Squadron. So I think it's kind of cool to, it's like it shows a preview of Squadron, but it also shows one that not a lot of people are going to own in game. So it kind of gives you that rare versus common. It's a weird juxtaposition.
Yeah, and there are some differences with the M that aren't on the P variant. So the size 10 weapon, the size 7 turret on the front, and the rear. The rear mount for a turret at the rear, which the M misses. So
I can show that real quick. It's just completely missing off the back here.
So you can see the circle where it is, but
he's gone.
But no turret is there.
I don't know, maybe they'll let you get that back at some point, or some kind of component reason why it's missing. We don't know, but she flies much like a Capital. You might be surprised at that. A little bit kind of way more sluggish than the Polaris. And I think you'll probably see as we talk through this today, there are going to be comparisons to the other big ships in the game. It's our only first true, really big, what I consider to be a capital ship. Yes, we do have other capitals, but this is the meat and potatoes. This is what they were intending to go for, type of thing. And I think the other ones that we'll probably look at a lot today will be things like the Javelin and the Kraken. Mostly the Kraken, because I think they're the two that are going head to head. And there are a lot of similarities here, but obviously differences as well. And one of the things you and I talked about from the get-go, so I think we'll just start with that because I think that's a good place to start, is we actually started talking about pads, right? And
interestingly, our conversation started not talking Idris pads, but 890 and Kraken pads.
Well, even back further than that, it went back to the Vulture. You started mentioning the Vulture fits, right? But to get to the meat and potatoes is what are the differences? Because you can take any ship and put it in here, right? But does it have the facilities to do that? And that is something that I think is going to really become clear to people. Like, people do all these videos. It's like, can this fit in the back of this? Oh, why? And me and Aaron get really agitated. It's like, we don't care because we know at the end of the day, it's not going to have the facilities to take care of that.
To repair and refuel and rearm.
Because, for example, you could, like using the 890 jump analogy, you can take a freelancer and put it in the back of an 890 jump, but it won't have the facilities to take care of that ship because the facilities are designed for 2 S1 size ships to take care of it. And this, you can put a mole in this probably. I haven't done that, but a mole is a medium, right? You can put cutlasses in here, you can put vultures in here, but can they be serviced by this? And that's probably where it starts to fall apart, because this is designed for 3 S2 size ships, right? Combat ships at that. You got to remember, once the fuel ports come in, the takeoff and landing sequences and all that type of thing, they are the ship it's designed for. And as we go on and the game goes on and we get more and more facilities added, it's become clear to people it's not just a physical limitation, it's a facilities limitation. And I think that's the way you've really got to break this ship down. It is 3 fighter-sized S2 size ships. And when you start looking like, you can chuck a vulture in there in a pinch, but why would you?
Will you be able to service it?
Yeah, other than transporting, it doesn't do anything else, right? And that's really how I want to break these ships down, because you can take the same thing to the Kraken and you can start to see how the Kraken's going to play out as well. Currently, it's got 2 hangars for repair and maintenance, but then it's got all those pads on top, but that's just all they are. They're just pads. And so you can start to see very quickly the Idris is quite strong in that regard, because it's got those repair hangars. So all of a sudden, when you go, the Kraken's only got 2 of them, and this has got 3, you can see that juxtaposition and weakness between the 2.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we also know the Liberator, while it's even got internal hangars, its facilities for repair, refuel, rearm, we were told it doesn't. It's hand refueling, hand repair. Which
brings it back in
to do stuff, and that changes again the dynamic.
Brings it back into that pad dynamic like the Kraken would have when it's not those maintenance ones. And they're things that they don't talk about in the sales pitch, but they talk about them in the Q&As. And that, again, is just information and an algorithm. And I have accumulated over years of following this game that some people miss. A lot of people get it, right? A lot of people do get that. But with all the years of information, that's the problem. That's one of the reasons I would like to do this together, because we check each other. And so
one of the things we were talking about as well is, like, the 890 Jump has 2 size 1 pads, and the question is, can it take a size 2 ship as well? And you'd raise that point with the Kraken, that you thought that Kraken size 2 size 2s could take you could combine those 2 internal hangars to take a larger ship, and we're just speculating at that point. But the thing we were thinking is, you'd kind of have to configure your ship to do the one or the other. You couldn't just go, I'm taking this.
We'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. I really don't want to talk about that, because that's super speculation at this point.
It is super speculation, I will admit, but it was kind of us trying to just work out how it would play out, or that, and balancing that against the strength of the internal hangars of this ship.
So, with that said, let's start at the bottom, and we will work our way up with this thing. Actually, I don't even need to go in the door. I can actually go in here. Here it is.
Go down the bottom.
Yep. So,
literally down the bottom.
The King's Quarters, we should call this from now on, I think. The MPUV hangar. I think you could safely say this is an S1 sized hangar. I think you would agree with me on that. So this will hold all manner of the smaller ships. I think you could also put a Pisces in here if you really wanted to.
The MPUV at the moment doesn't quite fit.
Well, I think a lot of it's going to be to do with this, and I think this is, I'm going to be honest, I think this is a tech that they don't have in game yet. Remember when we were talking about the Prowler utility, this is actually the thing I was thinking about, right?
Yep.
This is a modified magnetic type of tractor beam type of thing, and I think that this is just a tech that they don't have working yet, because they can clearly take something and have and modify it to get it to work. But essentially, this is a kind of a docking type of mechanic that they don't have working just yet. But this is what I was thinking of when I was talking about the Prowler. This is actually what gave me the idea.
It does work in that sense. But at the moment, if you've got the MPUV in hangar mode, it's just a little bit too high to actually fit in this section.
Yeah. Don't trip, Algared. Don't trip.
Well, you're the one who can trip.
I'll try not to. This could be a very long episode if I trip.
Could indeed be very long. It'll be a very long fall as well.
Yeah, so I'll close that to keep it safe. I would have thought they would open the door differently, to be honest with you. I thought they would have had it, like, be a bit more creative, but they've kept it really simple.
No, they kept it simple. It literally is a drop hanger for the
you'll
MPUV.
notice because it's a larger ship. It's one of the much like the Prowler. It's one of the few ships that have air shields. That was an air shield. Again, this is the kind of thing that started to give him the idea of a Titan suit dropship. You know, it's got this, it's got this. I saw it at another place in game and went, why can't that be used somewhere else? So that's what, again, connecting dots.
No, look, I could see, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if those 4 pads could be used for 4 Titan suits down the path as well, you know.
Yeah.
But that's, again, that is pure speculation on my part.
Yeah. The grav generator room looks pretty cool. Nothing really special, not really functional. What the hell? I thought it fell out of the ship there for a second. Yeah, not really functional right now, but boy, does it look kind of cool with all the little mirrory.
Certainly an upmarket version of the one you see in a reclaimer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's showing that size difference, but somewhat similar. Yeah. Right. So yeah, we'll try to keep the more functional areas, I think, though, but I did want to kind of show that because it is kind of one of the cool little
it is the belly of a beast.
Yeah. Right. So I think we'll move up to the hangar now. Now, Algared's done a lot of rigorous testing this week. It's one of the reasons why he wanted to go into some detail, so I allowed him that. You've obviously got...
I wanted to check things out for my own sanity's sake, and
So I gave him the timing,
as well as everything else.
Yeah, I gave him the timing. There's obviously 2 turrets down here. I'm not going to jump in every single one because we'll be here forever. But again, trying to get this broad. Right. I think this is one of the big rooms that there's going to take a while to go through. But where do you want to start, Algared? So I'll let you.
No, at the back of the ship.
We go to the back, right?
Why not?
We're going to the back. Right. Where do we start with?
At the back, we've got our ramp, which is which would normally be lowered down, and that's your only entrance into the ship. Now, that to me is just doesn't make sense. To me, I think it needs some other entrance, whether it's a lift or something like that.
It needs a more personal crew quartered entryway. I think it's a bit like the MSR. Right. But I also think it also shows that it is a part of what this ship is. It's more crew based than like almost any other ship I've seen. Like, for example, there's no button here just to open the back ramp. It just doesn't exist.
No, you use the control deck to open and close the front and back.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like I'd walk up here and there'd be like a button that I could just go beep. And again, it's showing that mentality. One, I think it's squadron based, but also I think it shows that it's a crew based ship.
This is 100%. This is crew based. But yeah. So to your right.
Like here,
you've got 10 of these pads throughout this hangar section. They are you can put 4 or 32 SU cargo on the lower ramp. Whether you put more on the top is another thing, but that means at bare minimum you can have 320 SU of cargo just stored in the hangar.
Yeah, just down here. Now, looking at what I see here, that would be 216 SU cargo containers, based on what I can see.
You can't. Well, I use 8 SCU, and I was getting 4 in, so 216s. That's fine.
Yep. Just in that configuration, and so there's little spaces like this, and you were saying that you were able to get an Ursa.
I did park an Ursa in that area. It's very tight. It's certainly not a garage for an Ursa or other sort, but you can see that is your life support. They don't open yet, but that's your life support maintenance panel for the components.
So so hangar people also be playing a bit of an engineering role. Okay.
Yep. So you've got your pads there, and then you've got another component.
Now, I'd assume most of these bays will be ammo and like repair pieces eventually.
Yeah, I would imagine that's what they're for.
Yeah.
And you've got your shield generator.
Yeah. Does this even open? Probably not. Because they haven't done those capital components yet, which makes sense. Because this is the only ship that really utilizes them at this, fully utilizes them at this stage.
So apart from this, I'm seeing there are 20 grids on the
Yeah.
Grid 20, grid 19.
Yeah.
And then you've got a power plant down here as well, I think. Another shield and power plant on here, down below.
Yeah. So you're starting to see, like, when you go off to the sides too, you have all these little side facilities and stuff like that. We know that they're going to have hoses and stuff I think from a ship perspective, the biggest design flaw I have with this, and again, the only way you could do it is literally make the ship higher, and it would make the ship even bigger, is you have the order the ships kind of come in is the order the ships go out in. So, for example, let's take the vulture thing we talked about earlier. Let's say this middle ship was a vulture, and the ship at the back was a gladiator, and the ship at the front was a F8, and you get into a combat situation, you're literally going to have to send the vulture out to get the gladiator out, type of thing. And that's a you know, a problem with this ship. So you are really going to want to keep this to be in combat, because if you do, this shit does hit the fan, you know what I mean? It's not the same as the Kraken, where the Kraken can literally just, the ship that wants to go goes. It does show that this is a more combat focused.
Yeah. But as you were saying, when we were talking the difference of a Kraken and the Idris, the fact that this is an enclosed hangar means that you can you'll be able to constantly repair those ships, constantly refuel, constantly rearm. Whereas in the Kraken, to really be able to do that effectively, you've got to take them inside those internal hangars.
Yeah. So say you did have 3 utility ships in here, they wouldn't be going out for combat. That you would then solely be relying on the strength of the combat of this ship. Which is still fine because it's a damn strong ship, right?
It's a damn fine ship.
But you're kind of changing the way that ship works in a drastic way. Yeah.
Once you do relinquish your fighters, you are really sacrificing, you know, a significant portion of this ship's offensive and defensive capabilities.
Yeah.
That's the short and curlies of it.
It is.
So, could you do this with a skeleton crew without ships? Absolutely. You're sacrificing so much of your potential.
Yeah, and it is really showing what the ship is built for, and it is built for combat a lot more than the Kraken is. The Kraken's a lot more, it's not, like, it can do combat, but if I wanted to do combat and I could pick between the Idris and the Kraken, I'd pretty much take the Idris because that's what it's built for. The Kraken, I think, is a bit more generalist, and therefore I would probably expect overall an Idris versus Kraken. I'd probably expect the Idris to win because of the way it's built. And I'm being very generalistic here because I'm not taking pilot skill into account and all that type of thing. But the same level of crew, the same number of crew, that type of thing. I don't know about number, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? I'd expect.
Well, look, if we're not taking into account the ships on the Kraken, just that size 10 gun is going to do massive damage. And I did take this out and do some of the gauntlet type training runs, you know, the Gillies flights, and a couple of times, you know, if the fighters were far off, I was blowing them out of the sky with the size 10. It was lovely.
So how much cargo fits up here, Algared?
I didn't actually find that out, but it's 1,300 odd cargo in the whole ship. And if you've got the bottom is 32. Then that's kind of giving you, or 320, you've kind of got an idea of what's up here.
8 by 12, so that would be.
And this is certainly not.
Hey Google, what's
the ceiling?
Hey Google, what's 16 times 32?
16 times 32 is
512. And then I'd have to assume there's one on the other side, which would give you the 1,000 plus the 320. Yeah, okay, there's your cargo. Makes sense to me. All right.
So, and I would say up here, this is basically your long-term supplies, your additional ammunition, spare parts, supply for the ship, which you'd bring down, put into the ready access areas to be used as needed. So, but a hefty amount of cargo.
Yeah, it would be really cool if those elevators went all the way to the ground. I think that would solve the problem, personally. It's a nice crew size.
I wonder whether part of that is because the landing gear are more or less under roughly in that area as well. So they might be actually taking up in space underneath that ship as they're packed away.
Again, it in a weird way, it kind of adds to that crew ability of the ship. Like it requires other people to kind of be on the ship, because again, once this thing is spawned, you can't really unspawn it. Like, yes, you can land it, and I do think a lot of those things are still up in the air, but it kind of shows that once this thing is out, there's always going to be someone at home. Like it's showing that you know, like it doesn't need those multiple doors, because you just don't want enemies getting on the ship. But yeah. I do think there are holdovers though, because it's a Squadron 42 ship, like things like these treadmills and stuff. Like there is a little bit of fluff to this ship, but let's be honest, there's a bit of fluff on every ship. This one's probably just going to have a bit of holdovers because again, it's a Squadron ship. But again, it'll probably lead in a lot more to that. What do you call it?
And there's our sim pods.
Role play aspect. So yeah. Pod's pretty cool little feature eventually where you can just log in and do
so I'm
stuff.
going to suggest you go back down and go up the other side, because that'll take you to the control room.
What do you mean the other side?
Go back down to this.
What do you want to
go back downstairs to the hangar and go on the other side of the ship and go to the control room.
Yeah, but what do you want to look at?
The control room, because there's controls in the control room that are function to actually open and close the ship.
Right, here's the control room.
So this is we're now on the other side of the ship. If you look across, you can see where he was looking through the windows. And you can actually open, at these control stations, you can actually open the hangar front or the hangar rear by clicking those buttons. You don't actually have to be sitting down to do that either.
Yeah. So it does kind of show, though, that it's a lot more crew focused.
Indeed. And that's one of the things that also this shows.
It's almost like the players are playing as the, you know, when you call a state, and it opens the hangars for you. It's a player role there.
The players are actually acting as air traffic control. That's right.
And there's 3 of them, 1 per pilot. Sounds like Providence to me. You know, working in tandem, that teamwork ability, that type of stuff. So yeah, there are like another one for fluff. I think on this for me, I really have tried to think of ways it'll be used, and the only way I can think of it is that, you know, that pilot area where I don't even actually remember where it is on the ship at the moment, because this thing is quite big, but the you know, in Squadron where they do the
briefing room.
The briefing room, that's what it is. Oh, here we go, briefing room. Wait. Because I just don't see what you're going to actually use that for. One of the reasons I went up the other side of the ship, Algared, is I know the other side of the ship. I don't know this side. That's why I went that side, because I know where I'm going. Right. Let's have a quick look at this, because this is, to me, is one of those fluffy rooms. Like, are you really going to have this many players sitting down to work out the mission where you're going to go? Now, I can understand if you were doing a base attack and you were flying on your way there. Absolutely, you can see that. But on how many times are you going to sit down and do that? Like, I just don't see it as a regular daily occurrence. And I kind of sit here and go,
I can see this.
How much better could have this space been utilized for something else?
I can see, well, I think it's partly because it's the Squadron 42 ship, but I could see this being used by, you know, you're going to a base attack, or you're going, you know, you've got your ground party and they're sitting there. That's your Marines twiddling their thumbs room while they wait to go into combat.
Oh, yeah. And again, but look how many freaking pilots there are.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, why is this, like, again, it's not just the pilots, it's the ground crew, it's the flight control, all that type of stuff. But also, like, you can obviously see that this has got a little bit of similar things to a control globe. So I could eventually see if there was a big fight, and Idris could be controlling the fight, and you could have multiple people in here that are talking to different people in different ships and stuff like that.
Yeah, I could see that as being an option as well.
Down the road. You know, obviously components and stuff all throughout this ship, you know, turrets, there is so much to go over. Like, there's an entire escape pod and brig area. You know, you've got shooting ranges. There's just so much in this ship. If I was to go through and literally analyze this like we do with a normal review, we would be here for hours. So again, we are going to do
yep.
this as, did I just go back into the same area?
You're
No,
going into engineering.
That's right. I did want to show this because again, capital ships have capital components. Now the Reclaimer has one of these. This literally has two, and this is its bespoke component. Much like on the 890 jump where it's got the two engines down the side, this has instead of an engine, it has bespoke
power plants.
Yeah.
Or power, or whatever you want to call these.
So that'll probably, I don't know if that's designed per manufacturer. It just is interesting that both the Idris and the Aegis Reclaimer, their capital component seems to be power plants. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the same going forward. I just haven't seen anything. Let's be honest, there's not a lot of capitals per manufacturer at the moment.
No.
So, you know, little niceties that are clearly getting ready for engineering. So there are little upgrades that have been planned all the way through. You know, this to me looks like it's going to be for repairs and components, but again, doesn't tell you what it is. Like, so there's a lot of things still to come. We just don't know. See, little hatches and stuff. There's just all these little things that have always been here. Like now we've got functional. You remember these panels, Algared? They used to be almost like a computer panel that you walked up to, and they work just like an MFD. And now they've all been streamlined and changed again. So again, we could sit here for hours and go through every little thing, but I guarantee you, Algared and I will come back again and have to do this again.
Oh, look, we're going to need to do this again once engineering kicks in, because so much of this is going to change.
Yeah.
One thing, if you go through that section slowly, that white beam kind of goes up and scans, and
it does too. I forgot about this actually.
You know, so it does a nice little scan of you and kind of a laser.
What is
laser
the
treatment?
What is this like detoxing you or whatever? Eventually, yeah. Again, I'd assume there's some radiation kicking out from this shit. You know, like they look like nuclear generators. So that's probably
and they don't look shielded.
Yeah, so that's
too bad if you've accrued.
You can no longer have kids again, but yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. Man, I don't even know what half these rooms are. I'm going to be honest with you. So this is I remember there was a cinematic here where they had one year where he was talking to that guard as well. But yeah, it is a ship that I am not and I think anyone that's honest with how long this thing's been out, it is
this is the elevator, goes straight up to the bridge.
Straight to the bridge. I'll probably avoid that for now so we can work our way up. I am now lost. What are some other rooms you want to look at, Algared? Briefing? Mess hall, probably.
Yeah, mess hall.
Again, I think that's another one that suffers from Squadron 42-itis. Yes, you need a food hall, but do you need a food hall this damn big?
Yeah.
And I would probably argue you don't.
You don't, but for the size of a ship, you talk about character and style, and you know, but when you're looking at a ship that really needs 10, 15 people to really function it or really run it.
Once you've got NPCs and we are functionally having NPCs living with us on our ships, I think that's where you'll see a lot of those things. Like I'd like to come in here and see at least 5 to 6 people enjoying their food and stuff.
And you've got to remember, once NPCs are in, we've already got NPCs on the planet going through cycles. So once we've got NPCs on our ships, they're going to go through cycles as well. They're going to be having an eat cycle, a sleep cycle, a shower, wash, and exercise cycle. So they'll be using all those facilities and going around.
Yeah.
With ships doing things as time goes on.
See, I still think there's room for signage too. Like, because I'd like to be able to, like, essentially whenever I walk out of a room, I want a sign to what's on my right, what's on my left.
Yep.
And it really doesn't have that. So again, I think they're still learning too.
Look, I've been going backwards and forwards on the ship for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and I'm still getting lost in the ship. So it is I suppose that is a concern when you're just doing that, and it's just constantly just this, where am I going? And I've gone the wrong way. I've got to now find,
So it's going to be a learning curve for pretty much everyone, to be honest with you. nothing this standard here though, other than probably it's a bit dark and dismal for like.
Oh, the whole ship really feels dim and dismal, considering we've got the power on.
Again,
and
I think that's a Squadron 42 holdover too for the moody lightiness. But you know, no offense, but captains are generally older gentlemen. They don't start to see as well, so you'd want to have this as well lit as possible. And I'm not.
yeah,
That's not taking a crack.
Thought in the living, I would have thought the living quarters you'd have had more brightly lit.
Yeah.
Maybe engineering you do that lighter control, but yeah.
No idea where I'm going with this thing. Like, I always knew that this was going to be
Now,
a different review because
the nice thing I do like about this. Stop there. Now go back to where that corridor is. You got your docking collar, right?
Yeah.
If you go straight through that port side,
you
straight on the other side, the other docking collar's there. So it's a really nice, quick to get to either docking collar. Which
you do get a nice little view down to the hangar as well here.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to go prone there.
Yeah.
So yeah. Med bay facilities, you know, on par and standard with other ones as well. What the hell's that? That's not. Is that a turret?
That is. I can't remember what that is.
I think it's a turret. Yeah, it is. It's a turret. It's one of the. No, it's a turret. It's one of the top turrets. Must be the midsection turret that I've seen before. Missile room. So this is one of the last rooms that they did. So this is like, you can already tell when you get in here. It just seems newer than other things.
Yeah.
But you can already see the manual nature of how this is going to work. There's going to be people in here, and they're going to be
to reload missiles.
All these missiles in combat. Like it's just leading more and more into that multi-crew nature. There is an org running this ship. It is not. It is not just like this is going to have to run like a really well-oiled machine to pull.
It's one of the things it's one of the things we've often said over the years is this is not a ship for solo play. Can you use it solo? Yeah. Can you use it with NPCs? Yeah. Can you use it with a few mates and NPCs? Yeah. But to get the most out of this ship, you're actually going to want to be running with an org and 15, 20 people.
Yeah.
Is really what you want to get the most out of this ship, I think.
It's real. I'm still trying to figure out how a lot of this stuff is going to work, right? You can see that this is where your missiles are going to be, and they're going to be coming up and around, and but then you've got to pull them across, and you've got to put them into here, and like from what I can see, there's a lot of tracks on the roofs, right? You can see that these similar gravity technology that we've seen on other things, so you can obviously see there's different size missiles. They're coming up, and they're going to have to be loaded, and it goes. It's going to be complicated. Like trying to see how they're playing it. You can see why it was one of the last rooms done, because there's a lot of complicated shit in there. And there was a med bay here. I do find it ironic though that the med bay is right next to the missile room, but fairly substantially.
No, it's because people get their hands caught in all that machinery and.
So default is a size 1 bed, and then multiple size 3s. Which I think is a pretty good layout. So if you're really stuffed up. And then
you get that one, and otherwise you're just using the little.
Your basic treatments in here.
Yeah, and that and that's quite good. You'd expect a ship this size to have something comparable to, an Apollo or those other ships. So the one size bed plus 4 size 3 beds really does put that at.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure of the size of this, honestly. It's not something that I've actually looked up. I'm going to be utterly honest, right? Based on what I've seen, it could actually also be a size 2. It does say up there screen 1, but it doesn't actually tell you what size the bed is. So yeah.
Nope. Well, what quality the bed is, and
yeah.
But either way, that higher quality, you would expect to see that, and yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind, if you consider that an Apollo, you could do 3 size 3s plus 1 size 1.
Yeah.
Or 1 size 1 and 2 size 2, that type of thing. So each of those rooms on the Apollo, 1 size 1 or 2 size 2s or 3 size 3s. That layout does seem to be almost mirroring that, with that second room feeling a little bit bigger. So hence why you've got the 4 beds instead of 3.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It is a size 1. Yeah, I was pretty sure because of the singular bed. Going with the Apollo stuff, it should have had 2 size 2s if it was like that. So these are akin to the beds, but they're just they're not modular as far as I'm aware. So again, it makes sense being such a big that needs a tier 1, and they're size 3s.
Yeah, I like this room. I think when I was looking at this, I noticed the other one was surgery, and this was recovery. I quite like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Operating and recovery.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The small, but the size 3 bed, you're in a recovery room. You know, you're not. It's not major. The major, you're in surgery.
And this is your kind of like little doctor's office type of thing as well. So there will be a dedicated kind of medical office. It really does start to hit that level of ship where we're looking at Star Trek. You know what I mean? It is starting to feel like this is the
this is your Enterprise of Star Citizen.
Of Star Citizen. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you. And it is starting.
It was one of the reasons. I got to be honest. It was that idea of Star Trekking was one of the reasons I did like the idea of an Idris, because it really did feel like that was the size of ship that you'd want. It's got all the components, all the bits and pieces, the engineering, the med bay, and it felt like a big ship.
Am I right at the front or right at the back? I feel like I'm at the back, but because I was going to say, wouldn't there be no
front?
Yeah. Okay. So that's the really big turret on the front.
I do think so.
Yeah. It is a maze, right? And I guarantee you, even preparing for this, it still feels like a maze. It's just such a big ship. There's just so much to take in.
Nice.
This is going to sound like the worst review we've ever done, Algared, because it's just such a big ship. There's just so much to cover in this thing. It is literally ridiculous. And I'm going to be honest, I have not seen a lot of reviews for this ship because it is such a hard thing to cover.
No,
I've seen tours out the wazoo, but reviews is such a hard thing to cover. I will show this armory really quickly.
The armory is again quite massive.
It's a Squadron 42 holdover as well. I just don't see a lot of like you can see what it's Squadron 42 makes sense. You get a new gun, let's test it out. It makes sense, and you're going to have the holograms in here, the sweet little trailers in here. So this kind of will be good for. Orgs, you can start to see like all these rooms that we are calling holdovers become make a lot more sense when you're going to org doing stuff together.
You go into the armorer's room and he's got his weapons racks and suit lockers and other things there. So you've got quite a nice ability to supply troops, and then you've got your escape pods again.
More components, more fuses, all that type of thing. Now, that was something you talked about before the show, too. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Fuses. This ship's got fuses all over the place. So I think I can't remember how many.
I will find one. I will try to find one. Hold on.
Yep.
You talk. No. I will try and find one.
So at the moment, there's 2 up on the bridge.
All right, we'll go up there then. We'll go up there. We're in next anyway.
But a lot of the fuse boxes have 3 fuses. I think there's one around the corner there too. Under those stairs.
Under the stairs, right? Okay.
Yep. I think there's one in that corner. No. Wrong stairs.
Wrong stairs?
Right. Yep. But you'll find a lot of the fuse boxes in Idris are banks of 3. So it comes stock with 2 on a lot of them. Did want
to show these real quick. Like these are just some of the turret locations. They are all everywhere. Like that's the thing. Like wherever you can pretty quickly get to your assigned turret. That's the other thing. I can really see that people are going to be using multiple seats and have multiple roles in this ship. Like the shit hits the fan, you can see that the people that were down on those terminals doing the flight deck, they're going to be a turret gun operator. They're going to know exactly what stairs they've got to go to. Are they going down to the one near the MPUV hangar, or are they going to the ones up here, or stuff like that? So you're going to have your assigned thing, and you're going to know your route. You're going to know where you have to go.
Yep. So on either side of those stairs, you've got terminals for your...
Sorry, stairs?
Yes. The stairs to the bridge. The stairs to the top of the bridge.
That is clearly avionics. Yeah, but where's these fuses that you were talking about? Oh, there.
Right.
Yeah.
There. So on either side, you've got 1 fuse. Normally, you'll have 3.
I don't have a torch. I'm trying to turn my torch on, but I don't have one.
You don't have a helmet on?
Yeah, that's my fault. All right, no torch. I did.
All right,
I come ill prepared.
Slacker.
Yeah.
So
Learn from the master.
what I'm postulating or assuming is that as engineering comes in and as we get that effect of storms and stuff, fuses are going to be one of those things that actually protect your components against being fried. And as your fuses get blown, you replace them, that restores life. But once the fuses are gone, then your components are going to be taking damage, which seems, to me, that seems a no-brainer. But the bigger the ships, the more fuses you've got to protect, which are going to add at that level of protection. So, whereas a ship like an Idris, not an Idris, a Polaris has less fuses than the Idris. The Constellation will have less fuses again, and as you go down, you see ships have less and less fuses. Fighters, you can't even get to the fuses to replace them, so you've really got those problems of going to storms or getting the distortion damage or otherwise. It's going to impact the survivability or function of the ships. So
yeah, this is again, like, there's so much stuff that we can't test here. Like, we went out and we actually had combat on the first day. We got into some massive fights. I was on the ship firing the railgun, Algared sitting in the captain chair barking orders. It was a lot of great fun. We had expat came along with us as well. So we tried to get out and do as much as we can at this, but you just can't give a long-term review, especially on a ship this big, because it's so hard to do because there's so many moving pieces. So that's why I wanted to keep this to a broad overview, because it's just something that we're going to have to come back to time and time again. And it's not like you go, this is a prospector, it mines. This is an org level ship that it's a Swiss Army knife, right? And it's got so many moving pieces that we can't just go, this is it, right? And again, the Kraken comes out in a couple of years' time, we'll come back to this and it'll be going between the two and a lot more comprehensive, because it's not just it does this, it does this. It is like a cake. There is many slices to God, this is a terrible analogy. There are many moving pieces to these ships. It's
like an ogre. It's got layer upon layer.
It's you're talking about an onion, right? But you get my point. Is that there's many more moving pieces to these ships than there are the smaller ones. No, I know what you're saying. You're calling me Shrek. I know exactly what you're trying to do, and I dodged a bullet. I'm totally fine with that. No, I did. I dodged the bullet. I saw what you were doing, and I just sidestepped you completely. But yeah, she is a fantastic looking ship. I think she is one of the most iconic looking ships in this game, and I mean that as in it is a truly Star Citizen ship. And there are a lot of unique ships like this, but this one is ours type of thing.
Yep. Indeed.
Yeah. Is there
for those who do have Idris, the size 10 weapon down the bomb, that's the railgun. There are two other size 10 weapons, the beam weapon and the torpedoes. They are interchangeable on all Idris types. The size 7 turret on this up the top, that's a laser repeater. But there's also the size 5 mount that is the turret that takes 2 size 5 weapons, which is standard on the Ps. And also there's a ballistic turret and a missile turret. And again, those size 7 turrets mounts are all the turrets for these size 7 mount are all interchangeable. So that gives a lot of versatility in this ship as well. So
saying to Algared before the show, we should almost do like a re-review around and I'll say it here because you might forget, around April 1st, about how it's a great daily driver because you just rock up and the PDCs just kill everything. Well, it's quite funny.
I did do a couple of Gillies missions in an Idris just to see, just for a bit of shits and giggles as we say.
Yeah.
And PDCs just chewed everything up. Yeah. It was just fly in, just sit there, and you just go into camera mode and you just watch the PDCs just. Brr, 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 brr. And the PDCs are laser repeaters, so it's great. And you could do the same thing on an 890 jump because it's got a solid core of PDCs, but Idrises. This one comes stock with all 11 PDCs attached. The EPs have, I think, 5 or 6 already equipped. So, again, a lovely ship.
Again, I think there's little holdovers. Just give an example, right? Say you're having a ship that you want to fly into the back of this. That whole ramp doesn't need to go down. So you can see there's just so much functionality that has just not been added because it's just not required yet, right? And that's why I'm trying to say, like, we're trying to review half a ship, like, and it's just not possible because there's so many moving parts. Like, if we were going to do this properly, right? Eventually, like when, you know, we're talking like after 1.0, all the functionality is in, it's all there. We're going to have to get in with an entire org. We're going to have to bring an org along, and I know many orgs out there that I can approach and do this, and we're going to have to sit there with an org. In fact, we're going to have to get there with an org and a second org that are in another ship and go kill us. Right? To do this ship justice, that's the type of stuff we're going to have to do. This is not a review that you can come at lightly, and it's not just the only ship we're going to have to do this with. We're going to have to do this with other ships. How does this fare against the Javelin? How does this fare against the Kraken? Like I said at the beginning, right? So this is like getting all that ready now is kind of a bit cart before the horse. You cannot do it justice without all the moving pieces, right? For now, great that this is in the game, but there's just so much extra moving pieces that we would not be doing it justice to say this ship is this, right? I think it's a great addition. I think it's got a long way to go.
It is a great addition. Look, I can tell you, speaking to some of the CIG devs, there's still a lot of things they need to fix on the Idris. There's lots of problems they know it's got. They're still sorting those out and, you know, nutting them out bit by bit. And I think as more things come on, we're going to see those get tightened up and really, you know, go places, I suppose. But it is a great ship. But as you said, this is not a normal review. Normally, when we do our reviews, it'd be a buyer's guide. But this isn't a buyer's guide because it's if you're someone who wants one, you've gone and got it.
I kind of think this is a buyer's guide. Actually, that is probably the better way to look at it. It's not a review; it's a buyer's guide. Probably come at this opposite of what I should have done. Yeah, it is a buyer's guide. Now it's available to be brought. What are you purchasing? That is a better way to look at it. You're purchasing a ship that is going to allow an org to essentially roll out. Sorry, I kind of sprang that on you, Algared, but you are right. You've brought my attention to it. It is a buyer's guide. It's not a review. That is exactly what this is. Is this a ship worth investing in for the long-term feature of the game? And you are essentially purchasing this for an org. It is not ready, right? Yeah, because the functions are rolling in. That's essentially. Sorry, you've really brought it to my attention what you just said. Sorry, I thank you for that, but I've kind of made you look a bit silly. But and I apologize for that. But you've made it very clear that is exactly what this is.
Well, I still don't think in many ways it's a buyer's guide in terms of for most people. Mm-hmm. Most people are not going to be buying this ship. Mm-hmm. It's a ship that's at the cost of it to buy them. It is beyond what most people would do. If you are looking at buying one of these, though, you are looking at buying it, as you said, for an org. You're not looking at it for a personal daily driver or be a salvage ship.
You 100% are not soloing this ship. Like it is like right now you can, but when the final game is out, like from everything we've looked at, where the doors are opened, how you get in this ship, just those two little things alone tell you it's got so many things that are designed for group play. The mess hall, the meeting room for the pilots and crew, the way the medical facilities look. It's got its own doctor, for crying out loud. Like you go look at the Polaris, it's got that as well. But again, that ship is also based around crew play. When you're getting up to this high end of the game, this is the end game. This is what you are working towards. Now, if you just want to sit down the other end in your Vulture, your Prospector, and just do those individual little tasks and chill, it's totally fine. this game is a game for everyone. That is the strength of this game, right? But for those that want to get together and essentially be aggressive and do all that, you know, I want to build a city, I want to build a space station, I want to take on the world type scenario, I want to push back the Vandal type of people, that as well. It's the group play. And you're going to have to work together. You're going to have to work together.
Yeah.
It's just no way around that.
And that's the thing that this ship, and by extrapolation, you can say this, the Kraken, the Javelin, even the Endeavour.
Yep,
these ships.
Any of the capital ships. So, you know, like the Orion, you know, Reclaimer even. Well, yeah, they're all going to be that way.
I would, like you can do stuff with your Reclaimer solo at the moment. I've been doing that, but it does get a bit tedious, you know, constantly swapping and changing seats and. You to get the most out of a Reclaimer, you want 3 or 4 people on with you.
Many hands.
It's the same with other ships. Yeah,
many hands make light work. Yeah. And it's just really evident in the way these are designed. They are built around crew, and you just from that's what I wanted to highlight today. I really wanted to boil this ship down to its functional part and parts, and it is definitely built around a crew. Now, the more you come to this end, the more that is obvious. Like a Polaris, you can start to see it's a smaller crew. It's a bit more intimate. You get up to here and you're getting into a big, you know, you're getting into the 20 type of people stage, right? You go down to a Polaris, you get into about 10 and it's not so bad. You go down to a Connie and it's you and a few mates, it's like 4 people, you know? That kind of makes a lot more sense. You get down to the one-person ship, it's real obvious. You can just go out and do your own thing. But with that risk comes reward, right? The more people you go into, the bigger the episode 3 of Star Wars, that opening sequence with a massive battle going on, that's this. The Algared wants to go fishing, he goes out as prospector and chills, is the prospector. You know what I mean? Like it's...
Yeah, I'm not taking an Idris to go fishing on it.
You get what I mean, right? So you're going to get...
absolutely. I get what you're saying.
You've got you
pick a tool for the job.
Yeah, or different flavors for different ships, you know? So you want your action with your mates and you want to go out and take on the world, that's this, right? Again, there are going to be some people that are just going to want a prospector or a starter ship and they're going to want to work their way up, or they don't have that money to invest. They're going to, you know, if you've got one of these, make sure you've got friends, because if you don't have friends, you're not going to be able to pull this off, right? And, I think even Algared and I will say we've got plenty of people around us that are going to go on these ships. But I think the other thing is, as the game grows, that initial 5 systems, I don't think this ship even really fits in there yet, right? Because it's not until you've got those multiple systems. Because let's be honest, if I've got an Idris and Algared's got an Idris, you're going to want them kind of spread out a bit. Because the time it takes to travel between those systems, you're probably going to do it. Yeah. Well, you're probably going to do it on an Idris, right? Because it just goes quicker, and you're going to travel as a group, and you're going to want to move as a group. But by the same token, if that one explodes, which may happen, you're going to want to be able to pull another one out. Or how quickly is it going to take you and your group to travel to the next system to get another Idris to get back on your feet? These are all things that are going to be required, and it does, like, as the systems roll out and we have more and more space systems, you're not going to be able to dominate more than really one system. You're going to hold your org is going to have your own little corner of the universe, and you might be able to dominate a part of that system. Like, say for example, we could hold down Hurston, but you're not going to be able to hold down Hurston, Crusader, Microtech. You know, like it's too big, and there's too many moving parts. There's 90% of the game is AI. You see where I'm going here.
And even if you can hold down a system, you're not going to be able to hold down multiple systems. It's, you know, your org would have to be like, you know.
Yeah. Again, you're starting. What we're trying to bring in here is the scale of the game, right? And no matter the size of the ship, it is still just one ship. There is no way any one ship is going to be able to control anything, and that's kind of how this game's going to work. It's a numbers game, right? And even if you throw 50 javelins at something, the AI can come back at you, because we are only ever going to be 10% of the thing. And I guarantee you sit there and think about how what do they call them in most MMOs? You know, like the people that the mods and stuff like that manage the games. They are going to not let other people's fun being impacted by one org just totally domineering. They would take that AI and they will push that AI at you.
They will leverage it to open up the system if someone's trying
they'll
to
just
shut it
make
down.
you priority criminal number one. That's what those attack flags are for. We've seen them. You can actually have Idris's rock up now if you get to 5 stars. That is going to happen. They're going to send multiple Idrises at your Idris to take it out because you were a bad boy, you know? And again, if 90% of the game is AI, chucking just 20% of that at you to double down over you being the 10%, you can see why it's there. It's to make it so you don't get too unruly and impact other people's fun.
No, I can see where we're going in that design idea, and it makes sense. Just a little thing with the Idris, like the Idris is so big that when they were doing it for Squadron, Chris at one point said they put 100 NPCs on it, and it still felt empty. That gives you a sense of a scale of this ship in terms of size. And I think it's easily a ship that could, you could easily have 20 or 30 people on here, and you still wouldn't feel enough.
And the Javelin's bigger again, and you can see why they want to come back to the Kraken, and they've got empty space in there, and they want to do reconcepting on the Kraken because things have changed. This thing has been constantly in development, getting moved and switched and pulled, and like you hear them talk about where there's not a free bit of space in this entire ship. You look at the Javelin. The Javelin is much the same. The Javelin has been worked on backwards and forwards and pulled at. So so things like the Kraken are going to benefit from what happened with this, right?
Yeah,
they're absolutely going to benefit. I that's where I want to kind of leave this. It is up in the air, right? There is a lot to go on. I'd kind of reach out in the comments, Algared, and kind of go, my question would be, are you happy how the Idris landed? Can you see the potential of this? Are you starting to see all the moving parts? Because it is, I feel like this. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's felt like this whole review, like I've been juggling plates. There's just so much to this ship. There is such a level of depth that I try to look and hold all the gameplay in my head and go, wow, I'm never going to be bored. If I'm bored today, and today I was captain, tomorrow I'll be the engineer.
Oh, look, we didn't even go through every room in the ship.
No.
We missed the pilot's quarters. We missed the crew quarters. That's just 2 sections we missed.
Yeah.
There's just so much on that ship. It is just it's a joy to behold. It is a joy to go through. And I know you said the same thing. You've been going through the ship the last week and a half, and I still get lost.
Yeah. And I can't. You almost go, I don't want there to be so many big ships because I'm not going to be able to remember all the layouts. Like, it's a scary proposition to have. The opposite of what you were thinking at the beginning is like, shit, how am I going to remember all this shit? This is it's something me and Aaron have been saying we used to try and get everything correct, right? And we used to really pride ourselves on being right and getting all that stuff done. And it got to a certain point where we're like, I can't retain this anymore. And this ship is in a real, like, an epitome of what we've been talking about, where you just can't hold it in your head. And we've started to build a team around ourselves. We've brought in a lot of mods on the Discord as an example. We'll give them full autonomy. People like Lemming that's really leaned into the CCU stuff and the upgrades. And that's what's going to be. It's going to take a village to pull this off. It's not... got Space and Paul there and Loken, and there's been other Inforunners that have come and gone over the years. It is going to be pulling more people in as this goes along, because it's going to take, this ship shows it's going to take a village.
Yeah. Well, even when we look at the things like our upgrades, you and I used to know the upgrades back to front, inside out, upside down. I couldn't do the upgrades as well as Lemming does anymore. Lemming's got them down pat. I leave it to Lemming now.
Yeah.
He said bad upgrade's good. I'll say, yeah, okay, bad upgrade's good. But
and I think you and I are going to become generalists as time goes on, but we're going to have to pull in special people. Like, so a big mining ship comes along, I'll probably pull John in. you know,
Yep.
you know, and that's what we're going to probably start moving towards a lot more is people that are specialists. And X ship comes out, we're going to pull them in, especially these bigger ones. And again, I would like really would have like when we probably get this done, I'm probably going to bring a multiple military people in. I'll probably pull SA in and people like that and get them to go through and go, tell me about the combat factor of the ship. Because that's the other thing. I could literally go, I could pull in a medical person and say, tell me about the medical facilities on this ship. You see what I mean? Like it's a Swiss Army knife. There's no, this ship is amazing. It could be totally ship medical, but really awesome guns. Like you have to break it down. And again, this is a buyer's guide, right? I walk this off, right? Because I'm going to title this as a buyer's guide. Idris buyer's guide is what this is. And when I look at this as a buyer's guide, you are buying this for an org, right? You are planning for the future that is the gameplay you are after. You are wanting the option to go out as a group and essentially take on the universe type of thing. This is, we're getting to the top end of town. You want the combat. You want you've played all the other dogfighting things. Because honestly, it accelerates and pushes those 3 ships out of the hangar, whatever they are. Right? Again, you've got 3 of them. You've got options. Do you put eclipses in there? Do you put? Are you doing a bomber operation? Are you doing? It's what type of combat do you want to go out and do? But it's definitely combat, right? And yes, you can go and like any ship can do something else. So yeah, do I put 3 prospectors in it and do mining today? Not going to be the best at that, but you can do that. The point is, the epitome of what you're taking away is this is an org level ship that allows you to do org level activities. It's got a bit of different variation in what that does, but you're going to have friends if you move this thing along. I don't think everyone needs this ship. I think not every org's going to need this ship either. If you've only got 10 friends, I think this is too big. I think this is
I think if you've got 10 friends and that's all you're ever going to play with, you're probably looking at a Polaris as your biggest ship.
Yeah. And I think
that might even be too big.
And I think also as an org level event, this probably is not the only combat ship you're taking out. Like I'd probably see this with a Hammerhead and a Perseus, maybe a Nautilus, things like that. Like it's going to be in a fleet. This is like the head of a small fleet, you know. And and I'm going to be honest with you, there's probably going to be a lot more fighters around this than 3. You're probably going to be cycling people through that to pump them back into the fight. And it's going to be, you know, you can see how this is going to roll out. And there's so many moving pieces there that this is not a thing that me and Algared can sit there and say, this is how it's going to be. I can basically point the shotgun in the direction it's going to hit. And I know Algared can do the same, but we can't like pinpoint it with a sniper rifle and shoot it straight in the head and say, that's exactly where it's going to hit. It's going to be in this ballpark. And there's too many moving features to be able to say that. And I'm being bluntly honest here with how this is going to roll out. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think exactly how to put this. CIG can probably put a choke on the shotgun and say it's going to hit a lot more accurate than but I don't think they exactly know exactly where it's going to hit either, because there's too many moving pieces as it goes along. I think they've got it laid out and planned than anyone else, and they've got a vision of where they want it to go, and they're steering it towards there. But there's just too many moving pieces to see where it's going to land. I'm excited to see where it goes, though, and I think this is a great taste of the future. Algared, what do you want to hear from people in the comments below?
How would you use your Idris? Now, for me, one of the reasons I wanted the Idris was to do Star Trekking. Because it was a Star Trek. It was the Enterprise. And so taking my Enterprise and with my crew and my red shirts and my EV NPCs to be meat shields for us to go explore the universe. But how are you intending to use yours?
I think my question would be is, how
would you use one, I should say?
Yeah. Even if you don't own an Idris, are you excited for what this ship represents and brings to the game? And I think that's my takeaway. And yeah, it really is an org level thing. And again, it's going to be something that Algared and I probably come back to in pieces and review. So they add medical gameplay. We can come back to the Idris and go, what has that added to this ship? How does this stand? I can't even think of the maze that would be trying to do cargo on this ship. The sheer amount of cargo with those physics grids. It just baffles me, you know. The Hangar
You need a
under
loadmaster.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like, you can see the jobs on it. It is going to take a village, and it's really interesting to see. I'm really interested to see how this ship matures, and as every little bit of gameplay is added. So I put that off to you in the comments. Like, I hope you understand why we've done it in this way, because there's too many moving pieces, and to sit here and go, this is it, is not fair to you guys, and it's not fair to the ship. But to show what this ship is going to do and what ship this represents, and see as things added to it, is just going to show you the way that the game is going. Following this ship and following other big ships that come in is just going to really show you what this game is all about. And I'm really excited for that part of the game as it comes in.
Yep.
Right. Is there anything else you want to add, Algared? Or I think I've kind of vented. I'm tireder than usual. Algared will tell you that when we're tired, we tend to. So I pushed it all out. It's gone.
Yep.
All right.
And for our short episode, this is a very long episode,
Yeah,
so it's time for us to say thank you.
Yeah. All right. With that, then don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. Right. With that, then he has been Old Man Hursted or Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.